see your mic.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Assalamualaikum
barakatuh, social media world. Thank you so much for joining us after ages. Firstly, huge Eid Mubarak, taqabbalallah minna wa minkum to every single person. I hope you had a fantastic Eid and a fantastic sunny few days. Can you believe the weather?
No, Alhamdulillah. All week is hot and sunny, guys. Amazing.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. So today, Alhamdulillah, we've got a very special topic for you. We're talking about intimacy. And joining me, as usual, is transformational expert Rosalie Tool, who helps people sell the high ticket.
And we're joined by Sakaria, the divorce coach, who works with professional Muslims and helps them overcome their divorce, help them heal so that they can feel whole and complete.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. So make sure you say something, type a comment in the box so we know you're tuning in, as we're on two different platforms and we can only see who's on once you type something. Walaikum salam, Sheila. Thank you for joining. Okay, so Rosie, you chose this. It's saying it's echoing a lot, Rosie. Let me just put the volume on. My laptop is muted, and I'm
Where
gonna.
is it echoing on Instagram, on Facebook?
Is it echoing on Facebook, Nashila? Yes, I think it's echoing on Facebook, Rosie. Have you got your earphones in?
No, I don't have any earphones. Got my charger in those.
Mm.
Is it still echoing? Let me just change the position of it.
Yeah, and put it here as well. I don't know if that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense. Is it still echoing, Nashila? Let us know. Anybody else? Can you still hear the echo sound?
Let us know if it's still echoing.
Nightmare when technology goes wrong.
Oh, God, I know.
It's only from my side. I think it's my phone, Rosie. Just hang fire. Let me
Okay.
see if I can. I can't switch this off, can I, on Instagram? Can I do that? Like, totally put the phone on mute. Would you be able to hear me?
No. Unless you put your volume down on your side, but then you won't be able to hear me.
No, then I can't. We won't be able to hear you.
And
Okay,
I'll be
you know what?
behind
I'm gonna sign out from here and let them listen to me from Instagram.
Okay.
Is that okay?
From Instagram
So
and Facebook.
put my volume on loud on your laptop.
Okay, guys. So, guys, Saika's gonna just, log out of Instagram and she's gonna be on Facebook, but you're not gonna be able to see her. You just can hear her.
Okay,
So,
Alhamdulillah.
yeah.
Nashila, can you hear us
Right.
now?
Can
Is the volume
everyone-
still echoing?
Can everyone hear
Still
Saika on
echoing.
Instagram? Why is
Okay,
it?
guys, so if it does echo, please let us know because I have taken Instagram off now. So hopefully that should make a difference. So, Alhamdulillah, let's jump straight in. Rosie, so we're talking about intimacy today.
Yes.
Subhanallah, what have you got to say about intimacy?
Well, it's not about. It's okay. I'm thinking echoing. It's not about getting. Like it's all about husband and relationships, husband and wife relationships, but it's also about connection. So I wanted to talk more about why we are afraid to be intimate, whether it's with your friends, whether it's with like colleagues, whether it's with clients, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your children. Sometimes when we think about intimacy, we think about sexual intercourse. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But intimacy is having a connection. So what I've noticed is that when people lack connection with themselves, they find it very difficult to get intimate, especially in a relationship. So let's say husband and wife, right? Or client and coach. Those are the two kind of relationships that require a very deep connection. Okay. And usually the reason why we fear intimacy is because from childhood, if our parents neglected us or they abused us or we experienced some kind of abuse, whether it be sexual, emotional, physical, you created a survival pattern that tells you it's not safe to trust people, right? So I find that a lot of people that when they have intimacy issues, it stems from like a childhood programming or childhood conditioning where their caregivers, the ones that they're supposed to trust and feel safe around, they couldn't feel safe around because they were being neglected and abused. Not in a. I'm not saying it doesn't have to be something horrific, but even emotional neglect, as in the child's needs were not met, they didn't feel loved, they didn't feel good enough, they didn't feel happy. That created a survival pattern within you to reject people, so that you have a standoffish kind of aura, you have like you find it difficult to talk to people, you find it difficult to let your guard down. Those kind of symptoms are the root cause is lack the trust within yourself.
Yeah, subhanallah. Intimacy it just refers to the ability of not being able to genuinely share your true self with another person and be close to them and be connected to them. And there's different types of intimacy, and a lot of people have a fear of it, and it's different. It can be of different degrees, subhanallah. So, for example, intellectual intimacy, that's you won't be able to share your thoughts and ideas with another person, you know,
Yes.
or emotionally, you don't have the ability to share your really innermost feelings with another person. That can also happen also sexually, where you can't express yourself or share yourself or be yourself sexually with your husband or your wife, subhanallah. So the fear of intimacy is actually separate from being vulnerable, but they are actually closely intertwined. And like Rosie said, it can happen for various different reasons. You fear There's fears of abandonment. There's ultimately a fear of loss. That's what it is at the heart of it. There's a fear of intimacy for many people. It's a fear of loss,
Yeah.
and they are triggered, and these are usually rooted in past childhood experiences, and triggered here later on in the adult relationships, where you
Mm.
become confused and you don't know what to do, because there's so many different fears that are that stop people from becoming intimate, whether it's
Yes.
emotionally or sexually.
Yes.
Those who are scared of being abandoned, you know they worry that their partner's going to leave them. you know that can often happen because of your parent or another important adult that actually abandoned you emotionally or physically as a young child.
Right, yeah, and it's so deep, guys, that what happens is we start mimicking our parents. So if our parents did not have the right tools to express, how they felt, like with my mom, because she had like a lot of mental health issues. When she had an issue with me, she would stonewall me, like she would completely ignore me. She would completely cut me off, or we wouldn't talk. So that, because she's my mother, that created this pattern that I found it very difficult to speak to people about my issues, or I found it very difficult to speak to people about my emotions because I was taught to bottle it all up. And then I will wait for myself to get to the threshold when I'm about to explode before I vent, and then it comes from a place of anger. So this is the, like, intimacy affects the way you communicate as well, because usually it's rooted in shame. When you can't express how you feel, is because you were made to feel ashamed of your emotions as a child. So what you do is you try and be the nice person. You go, okay, let me just leave it, let me just allow this person to do what they want. It's okay, sabr, sabr, sabr. You tell yourself that, and you don't express how you really feel until it gets to the point where you just reach your limit, and then you blow. And when you blow, it comes from a place of anger, and you want to get revenge, and you're angry and you had enough. But that's the lack of connection with yourself, and that also means that you are scared to really show people how you feel and express to people your authentic self, which is also like that goes back to having intimacy issues.
Yeah, subhanallah. So it can also stem from social kind of phobias or anxiety, because the fear of intimacy can happen as a social phobia or even a social anxiety disorder. Subhanallah.
Mm,
People are scared. They're afraid of others' judgments. They're scared to be rejected. That's naturally more likely. They shy away from making intimate personal connections. You know,
mm,
phobias such as, even we work with different people, subhanallah, such as even the fear of touch, may occur as part of the fear of intimacy. I remember I was working with a young client, subhanallah, and she got involved in a relationship outside of marriage, and that really, and it was quite abusive, that relationship as well, and it really messed her head up. Now when she sees men generally, any kind of Asian men, Indian, Pakistani, Afro Caribbean, she's so scared. She's
mm.
developed this specific phobia. She won't even go near them. She won't even want to speak to them. Uh,
Wow.
Subhanallah. So that's what happens. The fear of intimacy is harder detect, because you know what, people actually hide behind their phones, they hide through social media. We don't really know, you know, and it often stems, like Rosie said, from childhood, and not having the inability to securely trust your parents or your parent figures, which leads to attachment issues. You know,
Mm.
families, there's so many things that on the surface people appear to be loving, they appear to be supportive, or boundaries and roles might be blurred, and that leads to issues with attachment, independence, and even intimacy. Emotional neglect, subhanallah. Parents who are there physically, right, they're physically present in the kids' lives, but emotionally they're completely switched off. You know, the kids think that they can't be relied upon. And I know, because subhanallah, right now I work with, you know, a professional divorced woman. Subhanallah, she's doing so well in her career and everything else, but at home she has so much emotional neglect from her parents. And I've mentioned her example before, that when she's praying, right, when she's actually standing on the sajada, her mom comes and pushes her off, like,
Mm.
why are you praying
Subhanallah.
for? Why are you here? You're a burden to me. You've been divorced. Get out of here. You know,
Mm.
even a loss of a parent, you know, through death, through divorce, through even imprisonment, being in prison, or your parents become ill, and you're not being able to rely on anyone but yourself, and you're having to play. Now there's a role reversal, and now you're playing parent and caring for other siblings at a young age. There's so many things, subhanallah, that it can stem from.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned about this, the work that you do, because you work with relationships. All my clients, what's so crazy is that all my clients that come to me, they may have money issues, but deep down they have an issue with connection, and they have an issue with intimacy. And I've noticed that the women that I work with, they come to me like, they can't sell their services, but when we look further on, their relationships are a mess, and they're like, oh, I can't express my needs in a relationship, or I can't express myself, or I feel like I can't be a wife and be a successful businesswoman. So these are little like symptoms of lacking trust. I want you to realize that intimacy, that underneath, if you have a fear of intimacy, and I speak to so many women who DM me, and they will say to me, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that. My partner does this, I don't like it. Especially when it comes to speaking about intercourse with their partner, they find it very difficult. They're like, oh, I can't open myself up to him, and it usually goes back to that childhood programming that they were neglected, emotionally neglected, they were physically abused, sexually abused. So they created this lack of trust within themselves, because obviously when you're a kid and you tell someone that someone's doing something to me, you probably weren't believed. So they say to
You
themselves
know
that,
what, Ruby? You just
yeah.
reminded me of another story, that, you know, another client that I work with. She said to me, and I remember this. She said to me that when she was younger, her dad's friend used to come over, and he started sexually abusing her. And she said that my mind was there, my mind was present. Sorry, my body was there,
But the mind wasn't.
completely numb. I didn't understand
Yes.
what was going on, subhanAllah. And now she has difficulty expressing her needs, you know, because this stems from the feeling, the undeserving of another person. Because obviously, naturally, when you're in a relationship anyway, partners, parents, they're not going to be able to mind read, and those needs go unfulfilled when you can't express them, especially in a marriage. And
Yes, exactly.
it's essentially confirming the person's feelings that he or she is unworthy, and that can actually turn into a vicious circle, because the lack of a partner understanding them them needs that weren't even talked about, it leads to a further lack of trust in the relationship.
Yes, exactly. And that gap widens. So, like, imagine you don't trust yourself, and then that ends up projecting onto your husband, and then you don't trust him, and is that the gap widens, the conflict widens, because when you don't have that trust within yourself, you don't know how to communicate it. Because as a child, you were constantly put down. Whenever you communicated your problems, you were emotionally neglected. You were told, no, it's not right, you're wrong. All these things, these create this lack of connection with yourself. And I want to take it back to, actually, like you mentioned about intercourse. Like, you know, you know, I remember speaking about this in one of my lives, that
Mm.
us as women, we believe that intercourse is just a benefit for the men, and that's how we've been raised. We've been conditioned to believe that when a man has when we engage in intercourse, it just benefits the man. But when you actually look at the ayah in the Quran, Allah says to the man, "Go to your garden." So he describes a woman as a garden. Why? Because what happens in the garden when you plant the right seeds and when you water it and when you give it the right attention, it flourishes, right?
Love
So
that
women,
metaphor. That's a great metaphor too.
yeah, I never thought of it that way, because I was reading the thing. I was like, wow, like Allah talks about, tells the husband, go to your garden, because wherever the woman has, she multiplies. Wherever you give her, she will multiply. So a garden, if you plant the right seeds, it grows into a tree, then it bears fruit, and then it's like ongoing. So for women, especially, like, we've been conditioned to believe that intercourse is just for the man, that only the man benefits, no one else benefits from it, not the woman. It's just that the man gets what he needs and that's it. That's not true, because like, studies have shown that when women actually have intercourse with their husband, they get more creative. It opens up the femininity. It opens up the feminine side, when usually you're in your masculine side, which is very dominated, very controlling. You can't express yourself. So having intercourse with your partner is actually a good thing. But because we've been conditioned as women to, like, withhold, or we've been told to, like, make the man wait for it, or punish him with it, right?
People
Punish,
use it as a weapon and instead, yeah.
yes, use it as a weapon. So that affects everything. And one thing I've noticed, that when I work with, like, entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, when they get rid of this intimacy issue, their money blows up, like, literally. They make, like, so much money within that month, because when you are in flow as a woman, that's when all the happiness, success, love, money comes to you. But what happens is that when you're afraid to get intimate, you just, like, become like a tense person, and you can't accept anything, you can't receive anything.
Yes, subhanAllah. And you know what? You reminded me of another person now, subhanAllah, I'm working with, because what happened with her, she was also in a very abusive relationship and she was a
Mm,
Muslim, and her husband was cheating on her and he would sleep downstairs, like it'd been about 2, 3 years. He was
wow.
sleeping downstairs on the sofa and she would be upstairs, and it literally drove her mad. It literally drove her mad to the point that she was saying, you know what, I'm leaving the kids and I'm leaving him. Those are his kids. He can deal with them.
Oh,
He can
wow.
deal with them. And I'm off, and I'm leaving the country, and I'm going to go and get married because this man is not fulfilling my rights. So, yeah, of course, this isn't just about the man wanting it and the common misconception that we have.
Yeah, we've been conditioned. We've been very, yeah,
And
we've
it's
been
only
absolutely
for them. It
conditioned.
actually benefits both the man and the woman. And
Yes, exactly.
because the woman wants love, she wants to feel love, she wants to feel connection. So subhanallah, it's both ways. But obviously, when even if one person is being neglected, it can have a
Mm,
huge effect. This lady was about to literally run away and
wow.
abandon and desert her kids because her husband wasn't fulfilling her need. She was like, he won't even look at me, he won't touch me, he won't hug me, he won't be
Wow, that's
affectionate,
deep.
right? And it was really driving her mad, subhanallah. Because and some people also, when they have when they fear intimacy, they ultimately fearing the consequences of a relationship that turns sour. It's
Mm,
important to acknowledge that obviously there's no guarantees in life or even in human relationships. There's no 100% guarantee. Every connection with another person is ultimately a gamble, right?
mm,
But despite that, you have to practice courage. You have to develop these positive relationship experiences, and how else are you going to do it? Express self compassion and all these are the things. They're so important because if you don't get this right, it can really ruin a good
yeah,
relationship.
so let us know your insights, guys. What were your misconceptions of intimacy? Like, did you think it was just a sexual thing, or do you believe is it much deeper than that? Is it something that's, like, regarding connection and trust? And what do you struggle with when it comes to being intimate, like, even with your friends? Because intimacy is about feeling safe. Really, that's what really is. The root thing that you want to feel is safe around someone. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you don't feel safe within yourself, and you're constantly trying to run away from yourself, That's why when you come across people, you find very, and you know, I don't like talking about, you know, introverts and extroverts. I honestly believe everyone was born an extrovert, but then we made ourselves introverts,
Yeah,
right? You know
yeah.
how, you know,
You-
yeah, because when you think of a child, like they just love being the center of attention. Like, come on, like I don't believe that you may be parts of your personality is introverted, but then parts of your personality is extroverted. But I honestly believe that the whole introversion thing is the root cause is trauma. There's like a lot of, you know, events that happen behind that, where you felt like, okay, my needs will never be met. It's not important. I don't matter. What I say is not important. So let me just stay quiet. Let me just be in my own world. Let me just create this safe bubble around myself. And your survival pattern was just to remain quiet and not to connect with anyone. Because as a human being, you have a need to connect. It's impossible for you as a human being to not want to connect with anyone. You have this need is that is all within us. We have the need to belong and to connect. So when you've had these childhood conditioning, and the blueprint that you have from your parents is that it's not safe to be you, or it's not safe to be seen, it's not safe to be heard. Is the only way that I can get love and praise is when I'm quiet, or when I don't express myself, or when I'm not myself. That's when you create these boundaries around yourself where people
yeah, and I think,
can't
Rosie,
connect.
it's also because, as women, we're taught that we have to hold back. We can't be,
Yes.
we can't be ourselves.
Taika, no one, they can't really hear you
They can't hear me. Who can't hear me? Sorry.
on Instagram. So are you able to come back on Instagram?
No, because the echo's gonna come on. The echo's gonna
Oh,
come on. Tell them to join in, tune in from Facebook or YouTube Live. If they
yeah,
type
guys, you can go on YouTube if you want. You can go tune into
it's a bit
YouTube
of a,
live. So
it's
go
my
like
own fault
that.
because I've lost my earphones, so
Oh
they're
God,
gonna
my phone.
have my laptop. So
It's okay.
alhamdulillah.
It's okay. My phone died anyway. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So it's very important, subhanallah. So intimacy is you have to really be emotionally in tune with the other person, and in the husband and wife relationship, it's showing empathy instead of being defensive. Both
Yes.
both partners need to talk about their feelings in terms of the positive need instead of saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want that. Well, why don't you say what you do want, subhanallah? And that
Exactly. Oh
and
yeah.
when you talk about what you do want, that's going to be a recipe for success for both the person who's listening and the one who's talking about it, because it conveys complaints and requests without criticizing and without blaming. Subhanallah. Oh, that this is
Yeah.
wrong with you and that's wrong with you. All you need to is it's about saying, here's what I feel and here's what I need from you. And you rekindle that chemistry. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, we know that at the start of marriage, it's very common that people are in this infatuation stage and, they're really bonded with each other and everything. But really, you have to keep on nurturing that. You have to keep on nurturing that.
Yeah, and as I look at the comments on Facebook, Abdul Jamal goes, I think it's a husband's job to make his wife feel comfortable when they're sexually intimate. Yes, of course, the hadith say that, play with your wife, flirt with her, all these things are required before, like send love letters. The Prophet sallallahu says, send love letters to your wife, make her feel love throughout the whole day, so that you're not a
Prophet
beast during the
ﷺ
day.
would inform when he was out on a journey. He would inform his wives that he's coming back home in order to give them time to prepare.
Yes,
But
exactly. Yeah.
this is something that's just new. This is part of Islam. This is part of our deen. This is part of the Sunnah, subhanAllah. So it's not something that, we're just kind of making up.
Yeah, exactly. And like the Prophet goes, don't be a beast during the day to your wife and expect to sleep with her at home. And
Yeah.
this is why we've been conditioned, because we have the wrong conditioning. As women, especially, I believe that because the whole feminism movement has made us more masculine, and we've become devoured of our femininity. Because masculinity is like I want you to imagine like it's a brick wall. Like it's very harsh and it's very tense, and it helps you keep go. It helps you take action. But femininity is like water, it flows. It's always an ebb and flow. It goes with the flow. So with women now, they become very emasculated, and they mean in the sense that they be emasculated is shut down your emotions. Be a tough woman. Make him chase you, make him do things for you. Have this like kind of tactical approach when it comes to relationships. Make him work hard for you. Punish him. These are the things that we're taught as young girls. Punish the man to make him get what you want from him. Make him work hard for the intimacy. don't tell a man everything that you feel, because he'll use it as a weakness against you. So we've been conditioned to believe that we can't find a friend in our husband, we can't find a friend in our partner, and that's what affects that connection. Because I know I had this when I first got into a relationship, when I was engaged a long time ago. That how, because my mom raised my mom raised me. She was like, men are bad. That's it. Khalas.
Men are bad,
Men
so
are bad.
near
Don't
them.
go near them. They are khalas,
My
right?
dad just said that to me. He actually sat down once and he had a really serious conversation. And he's like, "I need to tell you something really important." What's he gonna? Oh, I've done something really wrong.
Okay.
This conversation is dead serious. And he said, "You know what? Don't get married. It's too much
Wow.
headache."
Yeah, my mom said the same thing.
He was serious. He was like, "Don't get married.
Wow.
I'm gonna take care of you. What do you need? I'll do whatever you want me to do as your father. Don't get married. It's too much headache."
Right,
He's
because
serious.
you probably had
Dead
an argument with your
serious.
mom, and then
Yeah.
he just, because this is what happens. And then as a child, what do you create? You're like, oh my God, mom and dad, like, is it me? Like, okay, so that means I need to rely on my parents for the rest of my life, and then I become codependent on them, and I can't have a life, and then you feel guilty for having a life, and all these things happen because the conditioning. And you know what? Your parents meant well. Like, your parents came from a place of love, but they gave you, like, my mom said the same thing. She goes, wait till you're successful before you get married. And I used to always have that in my mind, that, oh my God, like when I got married, I was like, oh my God, I'm not successful. I felt bad. I felt like a failure, because my mom indoctrinated it in me to be successful first, make your money, have like your money in your bank account, so that when you do get married, you have something to fall back on. So she was always constantly programming me for separation,
Mm.
right? So in my mind, I was like, it's like an antagonistic approach, like it's tactical. The marriage became very tactical, and I tried it like with my husband now. I tried to be tactical with him. He goes, I know what you're doing, and it's not working. I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. That this is a survival pattern that I created. That when I don't get what, like, when I'm not able to express myself the way I want to in a from a loving way, I shut down, I stonewall, I become very aggressive, I become like very antagonistic. I blame that, because these are all the conditions that I've had since a child. That this is how you survive in a relationship, right?
Subhanallah. Mine was actually the complete opposite. Mine wasn't like build yourself up and make a career and then get married so men don't walk all over you. Mine was more like, you know what, marriage is everything. You could get married first, everything else is secondary.
Oh
Everything
wow, okay.
is secondary. Marriage is actually number one. And I think that's a cultural kind of fear as well, and a cultural kind of conditioning that a woman is just there, her life is solely dependent upon marriage and having kids, and that's it, even though that is an important part and we don't dismiss that.
Yeah.
Can also turn the other
But I
way.
also I also want to interject on that. That it's
Mm,
okay if you don't want that in a relationship. It's okay if you don't want kids, because what it is, we place so much emphasis on it because cultural, right? But
yeah,
there's a lot of people who, like, I don't want to have children. I just want to travel and I want to be happy in that way, and that's absolutely okay. Obviously, from the Deen perspective, it's good for us to procreate and have children. But sometimes some couples don't want that. But it doesn't mean you failed in your marriage, right?
yeah, sure, subhanallah. And some people can't, Allah hasn't given them that opportunity
Yeah, right.
be able to have children. So really, it comes down to what are your priorities. But really, there's a lot of things that you can do to, if it is intimacy in terms of sexual intimacy, you have to change a lot of things in your life, in your marriage, to to bring that passion back in your marriage. And the first thing I think is it starts off emotionally. If you're not
Mm,
good friends with your husband or your wife, you don't have that relationship of friendship where you can open up and talk normally without the fear of what's he going to think of me, or should I say this, should I hold myself back. If you don't have,
yeah.
you're going to have trouble expressing yourself in other ways as well. you know Maybe you're denying your partner or you're coming on too strong. Avoid criticizing each other and stop the blame game. Mix things up to end the power struggle, if there is a power struggle. you know Subhanallah. And it's, doing little things can make such a big difference as well, like holding hands more often. There's actually a study research on that, done by Dr. Corey Floyd, who said that holding hands, hugging, touching, these things, they all release oxytocin, which is that
Mm.
positive sensation. Subhanallah. So physical affection reduces stress. It lowers the daily levels of the stress hormone as well. Subhanallah. So it's really, I think intimacy it can be built, but you have to really know, you have to really understand your husband or your wife. You have to be like best friends. You have to
Mm.
really want the best for that person. There's no failure, there's only feedback. You have to really think that, you know what, every single thing that comes out of his mouth or my mouth, you know, um, there's a positive intention behind it. You never question your husband's intention, that why is he saying that to me? Even if
Yeah,
something doesn't sit in line with you or your wife's intention, right? Even if you don't agree with it, even if you don't like it, even if it's completely different to the way you think, you don't question it because everybody has a positive intention. Nobody's here to attack you or to criticize you. Subhanallah, it's amazing when and you have to build and nurture that relationship, and you have to
yeah,
be emotionally intimate first. You have
yeah.
to have that connection mentally, psychologically with somebody first in order for other things to happen as well.
And I want to add as well, like, if you want to find out if you have an issue with intimacy, I want you to ask yourself the question: what comes to mind when I think intimacy? Do you go straight to negativity or do you go to positivity? So if
Mm.
you go straight to negativity, ask yourself,
How
what
does
was
it make you feel? Yeah.
yeah, how is it, like, why is it making me feel that way? And then ask yourself, what was the first event that I can remember that made me feel this way? And usually your mind will tell you, you don't have to think about it. It could be childhood, it could be as an adult, whatever it is, and then write it down. So when ask yourself the three questions: what comes to mind? How do I feel when I think about intimacy? Is it negative or positive? Or what comes up? Is it just sex? Is it just trusting someone? Is it feeling safe? What words come up for you? And then if it's a negative emotion, ask yourself, what was the first event that created that emotion? Like for me, I remember asking myself these questions, and the first event that came in my mind was that my mom and dad's relationship was very abusive.
Mm.
So the blueprint I had for intimacy was that it's very chaotic. It's like a catastrophe. It's not peaceful. It has to be chaos. So that's in my mind. And I speak to a lot of women who say to me that they're very like successful in their businesses, but they're like, I lack connection with my husband. I can't have intercourse with him. And the only time we have intercourse is when we fight. So we make up with intercourse, right? And you know what that comes from? When I ask them, okay, then what's your earliest memory? They're like, oh, I remember my mom and dad used to fight all the time. They used to always fight. They used to always constantly fight nonstop, and that was their relationship. So you created this pattern based upon your parents' conditioning, and it's very important to get rid of that conditioning so that all other areas of your life flow, your health, your iman, your money, your career. Once you get rid of these connection issues and these trust issues, everything else starts unblocking in your life.
Start falling into place. Yes, subhanAllah. We've got a very good comment on Facebook as well from Kaka. He says, as a man, if anything affects intimacy for men, it's respect. If the man
Yes.
isn't being respected, then it's going to definitely have a huge impact in the marriage. And you know what, subhanAllah, I can completely agree with that because men, in their nature, they're supposed to be leaders. You know, الرجال قوامون على النساء. The maintainers, the leaders, the protectors of the women, and therefore Allah has given them that position. And of course, naturally, they want that. And if that is lacking, then that's going to play a huge part.
I
Because
know.
if
I want
like
to add to that as
being
well.
like a man, how
Yeah.
how what are the dynamics going to be? You can't, the woman can't turn be the man, you know, or the other way around, role reversal. It can't happen. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I want to add to that as well. Like for men, like I know with a lot of men they want respect, but I'll tell you what the real issue is shame. Because yeah, you may lack respect, but what comes below that is that you feel like you failed and you feel ashamed when your boundaries aren't being respected. So usually what happens, you have to validate yourself. As men as well, like we always talk about women validating themselves, but men have to do the same thing as well. You have to be giving yourself the respect as well and not expecting it from someone else. Of course, like in a relationship, of course, respect is has to be mutual. You have to be given 100 and she has to be given 100. But usually when there is some kind of disrespect in the relationship, always take it back to, I'm going to validate myself, and I'm going to leave that person where they are, and they can go fix whatever issue they have, and I'm going to stand by what I believe in. But the root cause, what I've read from studies, that the root cause for men is shame. When they feel disrespected, it goes to the shame part. Like they feel really ashamed of themselves, or they feel like they failed, or they
So,
feel like they're not man enough, and of course it will affect intimacy.
yeah, subhanallah. And when I work with people, especially when they are on the brink of divorce or they've just got divorced, one of the first things that happens, that has a huge effect is the intimacy is just gone. There's absolutely
Mm,
no connection, there's no affection. They're probably sleeping in different rooms,
different rooms.
and that has a huge knock on effect as well. Because now what happens is not only are you emotionally distant, but now you have a physical barrier as
So,
well, which could have potentially brought you together. Subhanallah. And and that's why, even like Islamically, in the divorce process, the iddah period, is 3 months.
yeah.
It's there for you to have that opportunity, that maybe you can make up, something can work
Mm.
out, something can happen between you both. And that's the importance of it. If intimacy was nothing, why would it be part of that period? Why would that be given? Subhanallah.
That's so true. Exactly. And it's like and another thing is survival patterns. Like your parents probably did that. You probably saw your parents sleeping separately. This all comes back. Where did it come from? It usually comes from your parents' blueprint. We all follow our role models, and our role models are our
Yeah.
parents.
If
So you
your
have to
parents
break that.
is sleeping in different rooms, your dad is sleeping downstairs.
Yeah, and I know so many people. Like when I was growing up as a child, it was absolutely normal for like the father and mother to be sleeping separate. That was
Yeah.
like a no in my
I
friend's
think
household.
culturally, again, there's this shame that, the
Yeah,
man and the woman shouldn't be together, shouldn't be seen together. It's shameful,
yeah, right.
it's disrespectful. What if the kids walk in? There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that kind of cultural conditioning.
Yeah,
If you're used to seeing that, then
that
some,
becomes the norm.
yeah, and then you'll think that's normal. When I'm gonna get married, I can do what I want in my room. He's gonna be in his room, and
Yeah,
that's not how a healthy marriage works.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? And it doesn't just affect your marriage, it will affect your friendships. It will
Mm.
affect your health, and it will affect your whatever career you go into. Like you can't speak to your colleagues. You feel really weird. Like you feel when someone's in your space, you feel like your world is gonna crash because you just can't deal. Like as human beings, we need that connection. We need that feeling to belong. Another thing I wanted to add actually is that when I healed all those survival patterns that I was living through when it came to connection, like me being a coach, it helped me dive deeper with my clients. Like when you are able to go deep within yourself, you are able to go deeper with your clients. And when you've done the work on yourself, and when you've healed those connection patterns, those trust issues, and you've made yourself your safe space, it's very easy for you to go deeper with your clients. So if you are a coach or an entrepreneur, I would highly recommend that you look at your childhood patterns when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to connection, when it comes to building trust. What do you feel around it? How do you feel around it? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel icky? Like someone said to you, I love you, or you say to yourself, I love you, do you feel icky? And I know so many people say to me, that feels so
Yeah,
icky.
you sick. Somebody says
Yeah,
it's like, why would you feel sick if somebody is saying that to you?
right. Like this is as human beings, the core of our nature is love, and we need to express love. So when you're feeling icky within yourself, when someone expresses love to you, that's like a massive red flag that you have an
Huge red
issue.
flag, because
Yeah.
it's part of your deep human need, whether you're a
Yes,
man
your
or a
need.
woman, even if you're in your late 60s or 70s, right? It doesn't matter what age you are, even as a
Yeah.
kid, you know, kids, they love it when you're all huggy with them and, you're touchy feely with them. They love it. They absolutely love it. SubhanAllah. So it's a deep rooted human need. I don't know what
Yeah, right.
you charge you. Yeah, subhanallah. So yeah, exactly, and that's what happens. And I think there is, Kaka says as well, our cultures taught us some shyness more than Islam can teach, and we end up being like robots in front of
Right.
our kids. We need to show our kids from early age that their mother and father love one another and they've got loving parents. But
Sorry, carry on, my
don't do
laptop's
that.
gonna die.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. If it dies, it dies. I'm just gonna um carry on with it until it dies anyway. So yeah, subhanallah, 100%, I would agree with that. Again, there's a lot of cultural stuff going on, and people don't express themselves properly as they should, at all. They don't, and it's very, very common in our cultures. And
Yeah, expressing, yeah, like expressing your love. With my kids, I say to them, I love them like 100 times a day. I hug them and I kiss them until they go, okay, mom, get off me now. I'm done with you. So you have to like expressing it.
being
Like,
so
mom, please. Especially Yakub. Yakub's like, mom, oh my God, it's enough now. I was like, but I just can't help it. But it's just that like expressing that love to my kids every single day. Like I tell my girls, like, you're beautiful, mashallah, every single as many times as I can a day. Like, you're so beautiful. Your hair is beautiful. I love you. You're the best. Like, all these things, expressing love. Because as children, I know as a child, I wasn't given that kind of
yeah.
that connection. Yeah, the love.
Subhanallah. And this is the blessing of learning from your own parents' mistakes. If they have done
Yes.
certain things that they didn't do with you, and you have now your own kids, you need to now make sure that you don't repeat any patterns that can be potentially toxic, or potentially your kids are going to be deprived of their whole life because your parents didn't do it with you.
Yeah, and you don't want that, like, especially for girls, like, especially when you have a father who's very who's either emotionally absent or physically absent or both. Like, it's very important for you to validate yourself first as well. And if you do have children, always validate your children. Like, make them feel important. It's very important for you to make them feel like they matter. That's what kids really want. They want to feel like they matter. Like, whenever they come, like, but sometimes Yaakov comes to me with the most randomest things, and it's like, I'm not interested in it. But
Yeah,
because he's so like, oh my God, this is like, even though it makes no sense to me, I'm just like, wow, like, you have to get interested in their topics, and you have to think, wow, like, what they're saying is like, is weighted in gold. That's the way you have to
yeah,
make it
it's
out to
really
them.
important to them. That validation,
Yeah.
love from you, that support from you is absolutely priceless, subhanAllah. That's why they come and they share these things with you. How
Yeah,
do I
because who else do they have to share? Who else can they
do that?
share it with when you actually think
You're
of
the
it?
one that's going to give them that. And that's part of,
Yeah.
yes, that's part of being a good parent as well, that you acknowledge and you appreciate, and give them, you tell them what they want to hear. Obviously, if there's no harm in it, then you do that, subhanAllah.
Yeah. Did you read the one about where Kaka said our culture has taught us some shyness more than
Yeah,
Islam?
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
100% true, because our parents
But
don't do.
guys,
My
yeah, and
parents never. I've never seen my parents hold hands. Never. It just would never happen. It'd be like, oh my
it'd be
god.
awkward. Would it be awkward if you saw it? You'd be like, what? Would it have been awkward if you saw it as a child? Like, if you saw your
I
parents
think it
holding
would.
hands?
Yeah, I'd be like, I think it's a bit disgusting anyway when you think of your
Yeah.
parents together. It's definitely very, very disgusting. I'm not going to deny that. But probably because the norm wasn't, we didn't see that. SubhanAllah. So
Yeah.
then,
And you know what? That's the thing. You're not supposed to have shyness with with your husband. It's not supposed to be for your husband and your wife. The shyness doesn't come from there. The shyness, yeah, obviously, in the sense that, when you speak to each other, it's from a place of like innocence and love, but there
I
shouldn't be
think
that
the
kind of shyness.
Pakistani culture goes a bit extreme in, when they're shy, they're really shy.
Really.
Whatever they do, they double down on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because but end of the day, there's, I don't know if it's a Sahih hadith, but that even the angels turn away from the husband and wife when they're becoming intimate. Like, they're
Yeah.
like, that's the kind,
Yeah.
right?
Even
Like
when
that.
you go to the bathroom, and you read your
Yeah.
when you enter the bathroom, the angels don't actually come in. They
Wow.
wait outside. When you say Allah my the becoming a
Publicly work about it.
and
Yeah.
also when you are intimate anyway, you're supposed to read the dua,
The
right?
du'as, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So the angels
Mm.
shy away from you. That's that. The angels that for them is a shyness, not for you with your partner, with your husband or with your wife. It has to be like you're so connected. Like alhamdulillah, me and my husband, we're like best friends, and I think we built that foundation that we need to be friends first before we can get to the stage of being husband and wife. Like, when we got married, like, we were like friends. We built the friendship, like, talking to you about our dreams, like our goals. What do you want? How do you want your future to be? These things that you talk about with friends, like, what's your aspirations? What makes you feel passionate? What makes you come alive? That's getting to know someone so you can get to know them on an intimate level. Because I like to break, intimacy is into me see. Like, I see into you and you see into me. That's real
Wow,
intimacy.
yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Right. You can see them, you can see their soul basically. Like, then like they're clothed, but you can see their soul, like that their soul is naked. Like that's how it has to feel for you and you with your husband or with your wife.
Mm. Subhanallah, subhanallah. So if there, let us know if you've had any insights or questions or comments, please, from Facebook. We are obviously off on Instagram because
It was gone. It's a no go. my
you know what? It's
iPhone
always
died.
also good in marriage that you allow the tension to build. Sometimes, our brains experience more pleasure when we anticipate reward before we actually
Oh,
receive it.
that's interesting.
you know so take your time, and when and share these things with each other without me being explicit. It's hard to actually explain this on a public platform.
Get jiggy with it, yes. Like remember
I'm
before
kind
our
of
life,
like
get
really
jiggy
careful
with
with
it.
my words here. But this was your choice of topic, Rosaline, so I'm
Yeah,
blaming
I love this topic, guys. I love it when it comes to
blame Rosie because she's the one who said we're going to talk about
this topic. I love it. You know why? Because women, when they express, when they open up their intimacy, it's your intimacy is where your roots. They call the chakras, the energy levels in your body
I have
is the
no
root.
idea what chakras means.
I'm
Can you?
so into I'm so into energy. 'Cause like we're souls and we're energetic beings, so we have seven chakra points, yeah, or 7 points in our body that expels energy. So when the root is blocked, that's where your intimacy patterns lie. And when a woman releases that, she comes into her femininity, and she's more like, I always say this, like before I met my husband, I was very masculine. I was like, yeah, I'm always fighting. I'm aggressive. But then when I healed my toxic survival patterns, I stepped into my femininity, and now I cry at everything. Like I would never show emotion. Like another sign that you have intimacy issues, that you find it very difficult to cry or to like get emotional, or you have to hide it when you're crying. Like that's what I used to do. I used to cry in the bathroom. I would hold it all in and choke on my words. But then now it's like, now that I've expressed myself and I've healed myself, I'm able to like cry. I'm able to express myself. I'm able to say what I need. And also when women step into their femininity and they heal those patterns, like especially if you have a business and you're an entrepreneur online, like trust me, your money changes. Like the relationship you have with money also changes. Like you see, you're not triggered by money anymore, because usually women have intimacy issues, they don't like looking at money. And that's a pattern that I've noticed, that when you have those issues with trusting yourself or feeling safe with yourself, you don't find it safe to spend money. You don't trust that you can look after money. You either spend it recklessly or you save it and you don't spend it at all. So once you get rid of those patterns, like everything just changes in your life.
Yeah, subhanallah. You've just been given a well done on Facebook, Rosaline, for choosing this topic. So well done to you, Rosaline.
Yes.
I was
Wait,
like, no, we're not going to talk about this. She was like, you're a marriage coach, you're a divorce coach, you deal with this all the time. I was like, yeah, actually, I do.
you do, love. We're always trying to push. Psycho always pushes me out of my boundaries, and I push Psycho out of her boundaries. So, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khair for like the praise. Alhamdulillah, we really did feel like it was a much needed issue to be spoken about in the most light-hearted way that we can think of,
Yeah,
instead of
I
making it
think it
too
is a
deep.
bit hard. It is a bit hard, because it's a taboo topic. Nobody's going to touch upon it.
Yeah, but
Very,
guys, the taboo.
I'm very much aware of what's coming out of my mouth, right?
But
So,
guys, there's no taboo with Allah. This is like, Allah's not shy to speak the truth. Allah talks about intercourse in the Quran. He talks about in the most beautiful of ways, like the women of the gardens. And I find it so, like to this day, I find that so fascinating that Allah has called me a garden.
mm,
Like, I just find it fascinating because that's what we are. Like, that's how we thrive. And the way we thrive and flourish is when we're being loved, when we're being, respected, appreciated, when the man is giving us like the best of him, and then we end up giving ourselves the best of ourselves to him. So it's like just being described as a garden, that should make us women think, wow, man, like actually it's us that holds the power when it comes to intimacy. It's actually us that holds that power, and that if we use it in the right way, it can benefit both people.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So thank you so much, guys, for joining and tuning in. That was all we had time for today, isn't it? Because Rosaline's a very busy bee. You promised me a day out. When are you taking me out?
All right, love.
Subhanallah.
When we're going out, love.
I know it was supposed to be tomorrow, remember? But she's
Oh yeah,
social
we're
distancing.
tomorrow, isn't it? Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, we're gonna have to change those plans, innit? Let's say next week, inshallah. You
yeah,
guys, you might see me and Saika together, like on the same camera next week.
yeah. You never know, subhanallah. We're
Watch
planning
out.
something, but it's just about the weather and everything
It's
else.
so nice though.
Technical
Alhamdulillah.
stuff is a bit of a nightmare, isn't it? Really, and
Yeah,
connecting things up and stuff like that.
yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So thank you so much for all of you that have tuned in. Feel free to let us know if you have any comments, any concerns. If there's any other issues, you are free to DM Rosaline and myself, inshallah, and we will get back to you whenever we can. If you have benefited from this, or if you know somebody who's struggling with this topic, please do share it with them. We appreciate your support, your kind messages, and what we're going to try and do is we're going to come on once a week now because we can't
Yes.
do it regularly, can we, Rosie? This
No.
woman's a very busy woman. She's very
No,
hard.
where's the woman? I ain't got
She's
time for
not
no one.
impossible. Yeah, subhanallah.
Saika's got, we both got businesses to run. Saika's always doing her, she's always on her, like with her clients and stuff. So yeah, only once a week we'll be doing inshallah. So please do send in your topics that you really want us to talk about, and we will put things together so that we can actually have a topic to come up with each
Yeah,
live.
definitely. And these are for you guys, subhanallah. So if there's a thing that you think, a topic that is really pressing and we haven't covered it already in Ramadan, then please let us know. We will be very happy to discuss it, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. And please don't forget to like and share this. You can find this on YouTube on the Saika Riyadh's YouTube channel. Just type in Saika Riyadh Intimacy and this video will come up. And all the other videos that we've done are all on YouTube. So you can go back to them and share them with your friends and your family.
Yes, yes. Jazakallah khair, everyone. We hope you have a lovely, lovely. The weather is absolutely fantastic.
It's
The sun is
banging,
shining in your face.
amazing.
And yeah, yeah, we hope you have a great weekend. And inshallah, we will be back next weekend,
Inshallah.
with a different topic here to serve you. So stay tuned and take care. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you so much, Rosie.
Assalamu alaikum.